You have all the links inside of the email?
Yeah, I copied it already.
Okay. So if by any chance you get logs out,
Uh-huh. 1 minute, baby. Finish your thought first.
you shouldn't give up though. All right, everyone, it's 7 p.m. So for those of you who showed up on time, we are going to get this rocking and rolling. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. You could have been anywhere in the world. It actually rains a little earlier today for those of us who are on the East Coast and the DMV area. So it was a little gloomy today, but we are still going to go ahead and get rocking and rolling with some learning for tonight. So just some house rules actually for those of us who are here on time and early. Shout out to you. You guys are the real MVPs. Please take this opportunity to turn off your phones. We are going to be here for no more than an hour. So just take this time. You can get away from your iPhone or your Crackberry, if anyone still uses a BlackBerry anymore. Those are very old school, but you can definitely take this time for you and get started with learning on the topic, which are going to be the secrets to profit from your first Airbnb or 90 days or less. So go ahead, put that phone on vibrate. I never actually turn my phone off. It's usually always on vibrate, but you can do that for yourself today. Now, also another house rule, if you have any questions, please make sure you type your questions in the chat box area. So at the bottom, I have it highlighted where you're going to find the chat box. So make sure you actually go down to the bottom and hit on that little chat box section. And then also another thing you want to make sure to do when the chat box pops up, you're going to hit next to it where it says to, and you will probably see that it says all panelists and all attendees. I want you to make sure that you also put all attendees as well, because we want to see what questions that you have, each one teach one. I'm pretty sure from the questions that you have, you're going to help someone else as well. So definitely make sure that you go ahead and type inside of the chat box. Now, before we actually get started, there are going to be some keywords that I want you to be very mindful of when it comes to this business with short-term rentals. And the big keyword is going to be what I just said, short-term rentals. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the business, a keyword that you definitely want to know is the technical term for what an Airbnb is, the technical term for what HomeAway is, the technical term for what a vacation rental is, and that is a short-term rental. It's definitely the same as when you say Marriott. Now, Marriott is not the end all be all to hotels. Okay, so there are different brands and there are different types of hotels, and that is one of the brands, which is the Marriott. Now, same for short-term rentals. There are different brands and different versions of short-term rentals, and Airbnb just so happens to be the maverick of short-term rentals. But I'm curious, how many of you have heard of Airbnbs before you actually got signed up for this presentation? I'm just kind of curious to see where my audience is right now in terms of what your knowledge is in short-term rentals. So So if you can type that inside the chat box, that'll help. I see someone in the chat said bed and breakfast. Okay, cool. That's definitely a version of a short-term rental. Exactly. Bed and breakfasts, hotels, all those different things. Now, the reason why Airbnb has swept the nation is because of their marketing skills. They have done phenomenal since 2008 when they first got started. And I see Rhodesia has also heard of short-term rentals as well. Also, well, specifically Airbnb. But Airbnb, since 2008, they have killed it. Now, when they first got started, they were on the brink of actually shutting down. And right now, you definitely know they're not shutting down anytime soon. Just a little quick, hilarious story for those of you who don't know. Back in 2008, during the presidential elections, in order for Airbnb to keep their doors open, they ran a campaign. So if you ever heard of the cereal Obama O's and Captain McCain Crunch, that actually came from Airbnb in 2008. So they were struggling to get started in the beginning, but now you see they are clearly winning. They are the Uber of short-term rentals. They have 4 million listings worldwide currently, and they are in 191 countries. So they're killing the game right now. So we don't have to worry about them going anywhere anytime soon. Now, definitely you have come to the right place if you want to figure out how to profit from short-term rentals without wasting any money or any time. Again, when I say short-term rentals, I mean Airbnbs, I mean vacation rentals, I mean bed and breakfasts, I mean HomeAways. All of those good things, we're going to show you how to profit without wasting your time or your money. Now, this is definitely the place for you if you're looking for a strategy to earn real passive income, not passive income that you have to chase behind everyone. And if there are any landlords that are in the chat box, please, I want to see who I'm working with my audience. Now, as a landlord, definitely you know that you can have great tenants, or you can have tenants that you have to kind of run behind in order to go ahead and get that rent check. Also, if you have a business, and I see that I have a landlord inside the chat box, if you have a business, whether it's photography, event planning, wedding planner, whatever the case may be, you also may have to run behind people in order to get your invoices answered. But now with this strategy, we get paid before the person stays. So we don't have to worry about chasing after anyone for any type of income. It comes into us on a daily and weekly basis automatically. Let me show you how. Now, that is me in the middle. I don't know why my mouth is open so wide and everyone is just smiling normal, but I've always been the oddball of the family. So that's me in the middle. That is my sister to the right. That's my mom to the left. And that handsome gentleman there, he actually just sold us a property in Mexico at that time. So now I realized, like, hey, this is a real opportunity when I was still getting paid while I was in Mexico. So it was crazy to me because I'm in Mexico, I'm enjoying like myself with my mom, I'm inside of the hotel room, and then I get notifications to my phone saying that I got paid for people who were staying there with me, and I wasn't even anywhere close to where the short-term rental was. So I'm like, okay, I see there's an opportunity here. Now, also, this is the place for you if you're looking to invest in a real estate strategy that can make you money sooner than later. If I have any real estate investors in the crowd, I am curious to know exactly what type of investing that you do, because that is going to help when I go through these, and I'll know which ones to kind of like lay off of. I'm not going to try to like go ahead and attack anybody's method or strategy of real estate investing, but I'm going to show you the difference between certain strategies of real estate investing, some of them that can make you money sooner than later. So go ahead and chat inside the chat box. I see that I have someone who is focusing, oh, two people, awesome, in the chat box who stated they are focusing on buy and holds. Buy and holds for long-term rentals are great. I love them. We have buy and holds as well. So definitely buy and holds is a great strategy. Wholesaling is an awesome strategy too. I'm going to talk about that a little later on as well. So not knocking them both, but like I said, we are going to get into details in terms of how to make money a little sooner rather than later. With buy and holds, I think the hiccup with buy and hold sometimes is the fact that you have to go ahead, find a property, fix a property up, go ahead, get a renter, all those different things. I don't necessarily have to worry about that with my short-term rentals. I just go ahead, get that bad boy set up, and then I have people in there, and I'm going to show you how. So if you are a rehabber, rehabbing is totally awesome. I love rehabbing. I think it's a great strategy. When it comes to rehabbing, though, the problem that I will say is that it takes you some time in order to get your money. So if you have heard of fix this, flip that, all these different programs, I know if you watch any type of video on YouTube, number one, you are going to see 1,000 people who are selling you on rehab courses that cost around $30,000. So rehabbing is like a really big thing right now. And you can make a lot of money, but you do have to be patient in order to get that money. So it's like more of a long-term game when it comes to rehabbing. Another cool strategy that I know a few people right now who are doing is with mortgage notes. I don't know if anyone in the audience works with mortgage notes. I would definitely be interested in speaking with you further. Mortgage notes, we actually do own notes ourselves. However, this is something that we don't like specialize in, but my business partners do. I see someone in the chat box that says, I want to. Mortgage notes are really great, and we get paid from the notes that we own on a monthly basis. So it's a great thing, but sometimes people default because once again, you're dealing with human beings. You don't have any type of, I guess for lack of better words, you don't have any type of accountability really, and you have to go through different steps if someone defaults on paying on a note. So notes still getting paid on a consistent basis, but it's not sooner, and someone does have the possibility of defaulting on you. Another strategy that I saw someone in the chat box talking about is, yes, wholesaling. Wholesaling is a real estate strategy that you can get started on with little to no marketing money. And I don't know if anyone that's on the line has wholesaled before or is currently wholesaling, but you know this is definitely an opportunity. But once again, it does take a little work and it does take a little bit of water in order to prime the pump when it comes to that. But all these strategies are great, and definitely we endorse this course, Wholesaling with Little to No Marketing Money. I actually closed one of my first deals with Eddie. It only took us about 2 weeks in order to close our first deal, and that book is on Amazon if you're interested in it. However, my biggest obsession for the past 2 years has been short-term rentals. Not to knock anybody else's strategies, but that has been my main one. And I think this strategy, coupled with any of the others that I spoke about before, and you are just like a diamond. So definitely stick around until the end, because I have a bonus for you, for those of you who are serious, a free bonus that we're going to send out to you if you stick around till the end. If you don't stick around, I will know. Okay. So let me let me go ahead and tell you, just make sure that you stay inside. So now, what exactly will you learn today? So let me give you the details on what we're going to go over. So we're going to show you how to get started making money with short-term rentals, how to actually locate a profitable short-term rental property. The key one that everybody wants to know about, how to use properties that you do not own in order to create a profitable short-term rental business. I probably get this question at least once a week from different people who hit me up on like Facebook and inside of the meetup group. So how you do it without properties that you don't own. Also, how to start your short-term rental business immediately and profit in your first 90 days. That's not a sales gimmick. That's something that's really true. And that's something that I actually have proof, which I'm going to be showing you the proof. proof is in the pudding. I'm going to show you that proof of how we actually did it in the first 90 days. So that's not a sales gimmick just so that it can sound all cool and we needed a title for it. No, it's actually true. So now, this is a representation of me, and what do you think that means? I'm hard-headed. It takes me a while. Like when someone tells me about an opportunity, it just takes me a little bit of time to hop on it. So if that's you as well, then welcome to the Hard-Headed Club, my brothers and sisters. But that is me. I want to tell you, I found out about this business back in 2000. I'm laughing because it's embarrassing now to say it. I found out about this opportunity back in 2000 and freaking 14. Okay, what year are we in, guys? We're in 2018 now. Don't ask why it took me so long in order for me to go ahead and hop on the opportunity, but it did. And I'm going to show you one of the first short-term rentals that we stayed at. So Gloria, she was like the first Airbnb host that I ever met. She was awesome. We stayed at her place in San Juan, Puerto Rico. It was only roughly about 10 minutes away from the main strip in San Juan. If anyone has visited Puerto Rico before, then you know where I'm talking about. And her place was like phenomenal. She has a pool. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom place. It was clean. It was 4 of my girlfriends and I. So we needed a big place for us. So that way we weren't inside of anybody's things. If any ladies have been here on vacation with your friends, you already know how it goes with the clothes and the makeup and all that stuff. Not to exclude you fellas, but I think you have an easier time when it comes to going on vacation with your friends. So for us, we needed the space. So $69 per person, but let's compare that to the nearby hotels and how much they were charging. $169 per person. I don't think so. So if I have all the same amenities plus more amenities for $69 per person, and you think I'm going to pay $169 and I'm only 10 minutes away from the main strip, you have got to be kidding me. So we saved $400, which we definitely used on some excursions that we had while we were out there. So we were totally hyped that we saved $400. I think we probably we circulated that money inside of a club. That's all I'm going to say. But now, 2 years later, after staying in my first short-term rental with the lovely Gloria, I still did not hop on the opportunity. I told you guys I'm a little hard-headed. So what did I do? Instead, I just didn't think the opportunity was available really for me. So I got started with rehabbing first. So with rehabbing, this was my first one. As you see, my hair is almost as big as this grass is. It was ridiculous with that property, but it was a great deal. Unfortunately, this was my first one. Everyone that I know has a horror story when first getting started. Don't judge me. But this netted us a negative $20,000. If you can see inside of there, everyone say ouch with me. Yes, negative $20,000. And I wouldn't be smiling that hard inside of the photo if I knew I was going to net a negative $20,000. But hey, it is what it is. So I netted a negative $20,000, definitely a big learning lesson. And from there, I got started with wholesaling. Like I said, I closed one of my very first deals with Eddie. We closed that deal within 2 weeks. I got that lead from my lawyer, actually. So he was pretty stoked that we were able to close a deal that fast. And then from there, my lawyer just kept on feeding me leads. Yes, Jessica, negative $20,000. I see you typing inside of the chat box. Sheesh. Yeah, that's a big, huge loss. So now in 2016, we started getting involved heavily with wholesaling, and we closed 12 deals for the year. For those of you who are familiar with wholesaling, you know, wholesaling checks can go anywhere between like maybe the lowest wholesale check I've ever received, and I'll take it. The lowest wholesale check I've ever received was like $600, and the largest wholesale check we've ever received was $32,000. So just imagine being in between there with 12 deals for 2016. I know that's a large gap, but I'm just being honest. Like we really received a check for $600 one time. So we closed our last deal in October of 2016, and we did not close another deal until February 2017. So for those of you who still work a 9 to 5, shout outs to you. Imagine not getting a paycheck from October 2016 until February 2017. So that's what happened to me. Yeah, hard headed. I could have gotten started with this opportunity and had been making money on a consistent basis while I was wholesaling, and I would have been a golden egg. So now this is the first one that I got started with my boyfriend, who is now my fiance, but he was my boyfriend at that time. And this is one that we got started on. One of his colleagues who came into town, she was staying on the couch at somebody's Airbnb. Like, they Airbnb their living room out. So if you have a living room, raise your hand, which is probably going to be everyone that's inside the chat box. If you have a living room, then you have an opportunity, because this young lady whose place she was staying at, she had a living room and she was Airbnb her sofa mattress, and she was charging $30 a night for her sofa mattress. Crazy. And so she came over to our place and she was like, wait a minute, you have this huge room here. Why are you not utilizing it? I'm paying like $30 a night to stay on somebody's couch. You can definitely almost make double that guaranteed, especially in the area that we were in. And we're like, okay, let's go ahead and try it out. So this is the first one that we got started with, and needless to say, got hooked after that. So biggest thing was I needed the consistent cash flow, and I needed that money on a monthly, daily, weekly basis. So I went to go get the juice. I got training. I needed to figure it out in terms of how the hell do I actually get started with this, which is what you are doing here, if I'm not mistaken. So it was definitely a bit rough getting started. Anyone here who considers themselves a professional decorator, shout outs to you, because I'm not. I'm about to show you some photos of a place that we first had gotten started with our short-term rentals. This was our first place that we got started with. Do not judge me for any of the decorations that are inside of here. If you look to the left photo, you see the IKEA lamp that was like $4.99. We got the fake flowers going. The exposed brick looks great. The bed is about as hard as a rock. It's very flat. Corners look sharp as ever. It's just very clean and functional, and it doesn't have any character. Now, we were competing with some big dogs on Airbnb who already had their place up and running. They had queen size mattresses with like plush pillow sets and 1,000 thread count sheets and fancy headboards. I don't know if anyone inside the chat box can see what's wrong with this picture, but if you have a short-term rental that looks like this and you're posting it up against photos from like the Marriott, then you would see the difference. I see someone in the chat box says it looks fine to me. Now, if you compare this photo compared to the professional photos that you would probably find on like, just think of photos that you would find on Marriott.com with the pillows fluffed in half and the Photoshop on it and all that stuff. That was the big difference. Their rooms have characters. Our rooms were just like very, very, very blah. So I had to start learning more about the hospitality business, and that's exactly what I did. So now I'm going to get into the results so you can see this is real, and then we're going to get into the how very shortly. This is our calendar from June of 2017. So this is one of the listings that I got started with back last summer. So almost a year ago, we started on this listing. Now, anytime you see a slash and a date, that means I intentionally blocked it out. And Ted and his lovely wife from California, they stayed with us for a few days. And this, like I said, was a new listing. So I just wanted to block out those days so I could get fully prepared for Ted and his wife coming to stay with us. So now we went ahead and got Ted locked in for the 8th. ever since Ted stayed with us from the 8th, we were fully occupied. So that's why I say 90 days, because this time right now in the spring, and for anyone who is in a 4 seasons climate, meaning that you live somewhere where you have spring, summer, winter, and fall, you know now in the springtime is the time for you to travel because you're finally out of hibernation. And that's definitely the case for me. I don't like doing anything in the cold. So now this is the time where everybody's traveling. This is June of 2017. So after we got our first booking, we were fully occupied up until now. So I blocked out 2 days because I wanted to go ahead and go on vacation, and I didn't want like anybody contacting me in reference to our Airbnb. But that's our example in June. Now, August, what did I say? It takes about 90 days. So from the time we got started rocking and rolling in June, our prices were a little lower. And then by the time we got into August, we were able to gradually increase our prices. And then we also use a pricing strategy that allows for us to figure out, okay, what's going on during this weekend? There's a concert next weekend. There's a tattoo convention, whatever the case may be. There is a science fair, whatever is going on in the area. And that allows for us to fluctuate our prices, which definitely doubled our income. So by the time August came around, number one, our listing was already kind of like verified by everyone that was on there. We had enough reviews for them to see that this is a great place to stay. So this is 99% occupancy for us in August. Now, on the 20th, that was one day that we didn't get anyone to book, which is not a problem because the property probably needed some time to just breathe. And then on the 28th, 29th, and 30th, we had someone who had booked from HomeAway. Like I said, there are different sources that you can book your property on, or you can place your property on. And HomeAway is one of the websites that we use as well, but we just get most of our listings from Airbnb. So we block that away from HomeAway. And I know you're saying, okay, this is nice. That's so cute. You had all these listings, you had all these people, but did you make any money? All right, let me show you what the profits were like. So for the first 30 days, like I said, we, half the month, we were pretty much booked in June. However, our prices were way lower, way lower than they could have been. And we did that as the strategy that we use in order to get people in the door. Thank you, Jessica. I see the all right now. So that's the strategy that we use in order to get people into the door. So for that property address, the first month we made around $1,118. Now, like I said, gradually start raising your prices. And this is a strategy that you want to make sure that you keep in mind when you get started on your own. So the second month, as you see, July to August, we made $2,700 off of that one location. And we gradually started raising our prices. And then let me get a drum roll for those of you who are paying attention. We maxed out at $4,300 for the month of August. That is why I say 90 days. So let's go back so you understand what I'm saying about the 90-day process. June to July, $1,100. July to August, $2,700. August to September, $4,346. I see the comments inside the comment box. Yes. So the proof is in the pudding. So I wanted to show you the results first so you knew I wasn't talking out of the exit in my behind. I'm very serious about this. So after these results, definitely I was obsessed, to say the least, because I said, okay, this sugar honey iced tea actually works. And I got hooked on Airbnbs. I'm like an addict right now. Everyone knows, like, they are calling me Queen of Short-Term Rentals, whatever the case may be. Thank you guys for that name. But I mean, it's a no-brainer for me when it comes to this. Now, some people may say, Oh, it's because you were already involved in real estate investing before. That's not true. Look at what my mom did, like my biological mom. So she got started with hers in 2018. So she literally just got started this month. So this is the up to date calendar of what my mom is doing. And I'm virtually managing hers because she's my mom. So she still bosses me around. It's cool though. So the first week of April, you see the slashes are through there, and that shows you for the dates that we blocked out. And she had income that was coming in from other events and parties that she did inside of that location. So she wanted to block it off until April 11th. I said, okay, mom, cool, you're the boss, you know, you created me, so you can go ahead and do whatever you want to do. So April 11th is when we actually said, okay, people can actually stay here now. So we launched on April 1st. However, the calendar was blocked until April 11th. And lo and behold, we got someone on the first day that we opened up our calendar, which was April 11th. And then from there, she has pretty much been fully occupied. Mind you, this is a brand spanking new listing. So no bookings, no nothing before the month of April. My mom just got started. And my mom is like 60 plus years old. So she's not, you know, a young lady running around, even though she believes that she is, but she's not on here. So I can say that. Now, look at what someone else's mama did. This is my mom-in-law. And this is what she was able to do. She was able to actually achieve superhost status in a matter of 2 months. And it took me probably about 6 months in order to receive superhost status, but she followed the steps and the strategies that we did. She learned from the mistakes that we made, and she was able to accelerate her business in a matter of 2 months, which is crazy. And she did that, and she's around the same age as my mom. So this is not just like a young man or young lady sport. Anyone can really do this. And she does not have a real estate background. She's a registered nurse. So you can't use that excuse either. Now, it's a new industry, so I know definitely a lot of people are uncertain about it. So I'm just curious as to what has been your setback in terms of getting started with your own short-term rentals. You can put that inside of the chat box, like I said, because I just want to know how to gear these answers or questions towards you. I see someone inside the chat box says that they don't have a house. Great. Let's talk about that. Getting the money to get started. Awesome. That's another good one. Because that was the same same thing as me. Just being unfamiliar with the process. Awesome, awesome, awesome. These are all of the same uncertainties that I had when I got started. So not having a house, not having the money to get started, and just being unfamiliar with the process. So here are the 5 secrets and steps to getting started with profiting from your first short-term rental. Now, first thing, you definitely want to learn your market. So for those of you who are, you know, you live in one place, and I'm just using this as an example because I mentally live in Los Angeles, but I physically live in Baltimore, Maryland currently. Now, just because I mentally live in Los Angeles, and that's a joke, guys, I'm not crazy, but I'm physically in Baltimore, Maryland right now. So when I got started on my very, very first short-term rental, I learned the Baltimore, Maryland market because you want to have a place that is essentially close to you because you're just getting started. You don't know yet what you don't know. And like I see someone in the chat box said, just being unfamiliar with the process. So I needed that hands-on experience to see exactly what was going on. So I looked to see what was going on inside of the Baltimore market. And I wish this data was available when I first got started. Shout out to one of our members of our meetup group, Pete. He sent me this after, and I'm like, oh, snap. If I had this data, then that would have been great. But I did my own research, and I ended up being right. But Baltimore is one of the top visited locations in Maryland, following shortly. Well, actually, that's a pretty huge gap. You have 75,000 compared to 23,000. But Baltimore, then you have Annapolis. So this is just how you can analyze your market. This is something that we looked up, there are tons of articles and different websites that you can go to. This was inside of one of the local newspapers for the Baltimore Business Journal. So we found out that Baltimore is like a heavily visited site in Maryland. So we said, okay, we're in the right location. Baltimore, Maryland is definitely where we want to be at. Now, a lot of hosts in the area, first of all, Airbnb hosts brought in $42 million in Maryland last year. So shout out to them. If that does not sound like a lot of money to you, most of the hosts in Maryland are not doing what we're doing. They're only hosting 51 out of 365 nights a year. So I showed you my calendar from June until August. Like that's more than 51 days right there. So they're just doing like half the summer. And then they're not hosting anymore. And they're making on average around like an additional $5,000 just by doing 51 days, which is pretty dope to me. I don't know if anyone can use an additional $5,600 in their pocket just on working 51 days. I see I can inside of the chat box, but I think it's definitely pretty cool to me. So after you learn your market, like I said, do your research on your market. Just look up different travel attractions inside of the location that you want to get started in, and make sure you start somewhere that is close to you for your first one. After that, go willy-nilly if you want to. Now, how to locate a profitable short-term rental property. There are anchors to this, ladies and gentlemen. There are different things that attract travelers to your area. So once you figure out the city and the location that you want to be in, you are going to use these anchors and just research them, see what pops up inside of your area. But these are the 5 top ones that I suggest you build your short-term rental business around. And hospitals is like a huge thing. So we have the top hospitals here. These are just some that I researched. So New York Presbyterian is a top hospital in the world, number one. Well, in the nation, I'm taking it a step too far, but nationwide, New York Presbyterian, a lot of people come there for like different procedures and surgeries and different things of that nature. So you have families who need to be by New York Presbyterian. You also have Ronald Reagan, and this is in LA. So this is a UCLA Medical Center. Johns Hopkins is actually located in Baltimore, Maryland, hint, hint. And this is one of, I believe this was number 5 or 7 nationwide of one of the top hospitals. So choosing a major hospital location, don't just pick like a MedStar or something. That's not going to cut it. You want a major hospital location. Let me think of another one for those people who live in the Delaware area, like Christiana Hospital. That's a pretty big hospital within that area that a lot of people go to. So just think about it. People have to be located next to these main hospitals because they have procedures. They have families who are actually going into these hospitals and staying overnight. And then sometimes a lot of these hospitals don't have actual hotels or good lodging accommodations. So people look at Airbnbs. Now, also, major universities with full-time students are awesome anchors to be around. And these are just some of the top universities in the United States. For those of you who don't know, I am an alumni of Delaware State University. However, I did not want to be biased. I just went and looked up some of the top universities, and this is what popped up. So like Penn State, of course, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, we're located near, that's a top university, Howard University. So you want to be next to somewhere, yes, fellow Hornets inside of the chat box. You want to be next to a major university that has full-time students. And also, another thing to note, when you have full-time students, you also have people who are going to be full-time interns. So this is a room rental that we currently have listed on Airbnb, and we have a student who is going to be staying there for, I would say like for a majority of the summer pretty much. And as you see down here, what we are actually taking back total revenue is $2,310.54. And that's because she's staying for the whole summer. So you have interns who need to stay at your place for the entire summer. Now let's think about this. That rental is a room rental. So imagine if you had a property that was located near a major university where students have to come in for internships. And let's say you have a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom with their own baths, and you're making 2,300 per bedroom for the summertime. That's pretty dope to me. So definitely go ahead and look for that ideal starter property. Now the properties that they have on Airbnb are like endless. You can do a cottage, a bungalow, a earth house. What the hell is that? A lighthouse. You can even do a tiny house, which is something that I just learned about not too long ago. I love tiny houses. Another cool thing that they allow you to do on Airbnb, and somebody in the chat box said you can do a hut. Well, I'm pretty sure you can do a hut as well. I believe that's on there. A yurt is actually on there, which is pretty similar to a hut if you ask me. But they have everything on there. Another cool thing with Airbnb is that you can do a room compared to doing the entire property. So what stopped a lot of people before is that they didn't have their own property. And I saw that that was something that someone had mentioned inside of the chat box. Now, you can do a room, like I told you, we know someone who did a living room with a sofa bed, which still blows my mind. And they were getting charged $30 a night in order to stay on somebody's sofa bed. So there are different opportunities that you have on Airbnb, so you don't have to have your own vacation rental property with crown molding going all over the place and Victorian doors and all this, ridiculous stuff. You can have literally an extra bedroom inside of your property, or you can have a, pretty decent sized living room if you feel comfortable renting that out, and you can get started. So just a tip, if you do have an extra bedroom, get started. Start hosting guests like today. It's not going to cost you anything. I'm pretty sure if you have an extra bedroom, that means that you probably have an extra bed inside of that bedroom, and you can start hosting guests like tomorrow and just get started on the opportunity and see how it feels for you. And then if you want to expand from there, great. But I always tell people, get started with what you have, and also analyze what your current life situation is. Like, do you have the freedom to travel? Do you have a lot of responsibilities? Like, what's your current situation? Like, seriously analyze that. That's going to be a part of your homework right now. Analyze how much time you actually have to dedicate, and that is going to give you an idea of what type of property you need to be looking into. Because if you have a lot of responsibilities, or if you have kids, then maybe getting started with a room inside of your house, if you have kids, might not be ideal. But if you're single, ready to mingle, living by yourself, and you have an extra room inside of your property, then you can definitely get started with this right away. Or if you have like a mother-in-law suite with its own separate entrance and it's totally separated off from your family, then yeah, definitely you can get started with the short-term rental inside of your basement apartment. Like, people do it all the time in our area, and they're making a killing. Now, what a lot of people want to know is how to use properties that you don't own. Well, there are two types of ways that you can get started with short-term rentals. Of course, you can purchase a home, or you can lease a short-term rental property, which is what I'm going to dive into next. So when leasing a short-term rental, 4 key factors, write this down. If you are going to be leasing a short-term rental, you need to analyze this before you do anything. First things first, firm understanding between you and the owner. If you don't have that understanding with you and the owner, as in terms of what exactly you are going to be doing inside of the property, then just drop it. Because if you try and sneak around the owner and do this, good luck, because you always end up getting caught. And the worst thing I would say is making monthly income like what I showed you with the 4,300 a month and then getting that shut down. Like, ouch, that's like, that hurts. So making, a good profitable size income each month and then losing it is like the worst. Definitely also, you want to get an inspection of the property. This has cost me a lot of money in the past, not doing inspections of properties that I'm leasing before I lease them, and go ahead and place either a 6 to 12 month lease on them. And we do 6-month leases sometimes, and then sometimes we do 12-month leases. 6-month leases are more advantageous if you are, kind of still a bit hesitant and you just want to try it out for a bit. But all of our leases that we currently have right now are typically 12-month leases. A 6-month lease is great if you like have a 6-month and it has the option to auto renew after those 6 months, then that's perfect. But home inspection report, if you're new to this, definitely, if you have any contractor friends, any handyman friends, whatever the case may be, I definitely advise that you go ahead and have them check the property out, not on the first visit when you go, but when you're like really serious, you're about to put the deposit down, just have them come and do a walkthrough, because there are things that they have an eye for that we are not going to have an eye for. They're going to see if there are any points of entry for like rodents or anything to get into. Huge thing that cost me a lot of money. They're also going to see maybe if there's any potential threat for water damage inside of the property. That's another big thing that has happened to me in the past. They can also, check out the mechanics inside of the property. So when it comes to like a garbage disposal, when it comes to a water heater, when it comes to all these different things, and I'm saying all these things because all of these things have happened to me, and that's without doing an inspection. So they can look at all these things and tell you, like, this looks a little janky. You might want to speak to the landlord about replacing this before you get started in this property. And they have the eye for that. If you don't have that, that's cool. Just make sure that you're doing a thorough walkthrough and like literally documenting everything that you can. Like, oh, this looks a little off. Oh, there's a hole here. Oh, I noticed that. And see, like, okay, this has the potential to kind of screw me up if I'm leasing this property. I know I didn't want to spend like too much time on that. I'm spending a lot of time on that topic because this can make or break your business. So get an inspection done. The neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood is truly important. Like I said, it's anchors to this. There are different things that are going to attract people to a neighborhood. Now, if you don't have any type of local attraction inside of your neighborhood, then I don't know what the hell you are, starting a short-term rental business inside of that neighborhood for, unless you just have an extra room or extra space inside of a property that you already have access to, then more power to you. But if you don't have that and you want to get started in a certain neighborhood or location, do your research inside of that neighborhood. Also, when it comes to leasing a property, you want to see what the crime stats are in the neighborhood. For those of us who are in like high traffic city areas like New York City, shout out to everyone from Brooklyn on the line, like New York City and Baltimore City and Washington, D.C., those are areas that are like very high volume traffic. So crime rates in that area are going to be considerably higher as opposed to if you're like in a more suburban neighborhood that people travel to. So you want to just be mindful that even though the crime stats are high, like they're not way too high. We have a location that is close to the inner city. So we do have like our crime stats are high, but people need to be in that location because it's close to the university, it's close to the hospital. So that's not stopping people from staying at our short-term rental. So we don't have to worry about that, but we just analyze that before getting started. Now, the next thing is you need to figure out what the potential income is going to be versus what your monthly payments are going to be. If you're looking to get this started as a business, then you have to analyze the numbers. Like, it doesn't make sense if you're not analyzing the numbers. And let me show you what this complex looking formula is. So what you do is you take the rent of any property that you're analyzing and you multiply the rent of that property times 2. Now, whatever number that you get from that, you're going to divide it by 30 because, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody can guess why, there are 30 days in a month. 30 days in a month. I hope it didn't. Yes, I see somebody typed it in the chat box. There are 30 days in a month. So you take the rent, you multiply it by 2, and you divide whatever number that is by 30 because there are 30 days in a month. When you divide it by 30, that gives you a number. That number is going to be the nightly rate that you are going to want to see that other properties in the area are charging for a similar setup that you have. And when I mean similar setup, if you are offering a room inside of your apartment that has its own bathroom, you are going to look up other rooms with private bathrooms and see how much they are charging a month inside of the neighborhood that you're going to be in. If you have a bungalow, you want to compare it to other bungalows. If you have a 4-bedroom townhouse with 3 bathrooms, really when you like have the entire property, the bedrooms is like the most important thing. The bathrooms still do kind of matter, but if you have a 4-bedroom with 2 bathrooms and then you have a 4-bedroom with 4 bathrooms, but you're doing like the entire place, it's not going to be that much of a factor. I don't even believe that they have any type of search criteria to show like, oh, I want a 4-bedroom with a 4-bathroom. It's not a house that you're purchasing. You're staying inside of someone else's home, for goodness Christ. So just make sure that you look up similar properties to you and see what they're charging on a nightly basis. And if they are charging close to that numerical number that you come out with, then that means that's a good property for you. Now, if you want to be more conservative, you definitely can. You can multiply the rent by 2.5. You can multiply the rent by 3. You can multiply the rent times whatever, but we usually stick with twice the rent and seeing if we can profit off of getting twice the rent. Now, another way that you can analyze data in a neighborhood, for all of you analytical folks out there, there is a very trusted website called AirDNA, and AirDNA can give you Airbnb data and insights. So they give you all the scoop on actual neighborhoods and how many hosts are in the neighborhoods and how many days on average they have occupied in a month. They have all that data on there. So if you like really want to go into it, then you can go onto this website in order to analyze a neighborhood. And if it's your first go around, then hey, more power to you. Definitely go ahead and get an AirDNA report. But I don't order an AirDNA report every time I look to do a property. I don't even order AirDNA reports, honestly, anymore, because what I use is this property analyzer that I am offering all of our students. And this was actually put together by one of our students who's analytical. I don't know how to really function spreadsheets or whatever the case may be, but this spreadsheet helped him with getting started on his first one. I said, this is pretty cool. I want to be able to offer it. And so you just plug in the numbers and it gives you what your actual profit is. So I think this is pretty cool for those of you guys who like to see the numbers like that. But if you don't, necessarily know how to use the spreadsheets, then you can also go on AirDNA. And if you don't feel like spending money on that report for AirDNA, you're going to have to spend money somewhere. But if you don't necessarily have the money, then just use this formula. Take a photo of that because we are leaving this slide in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Now, the key mistakes of a startup property: not analyzing the holding costs of the property. You need to know what your holding costs are going to be. And the holding costs are essentially how much is the rent going to be, how much utilities are going to be, and any additional expenses. And you have to analyze that and factor that into your to your monthly payments that you're going to be making and make sure that you can go ahead and make those payments. I've seen people who can, go ahead and pay their rent. Like they make just enough to pay the rent. And that's not a business. That's making just enough to pay the rent, unless you already have a house and the purpose of you doing, a short-term rental is just to pay your rent. And that's kind of different. Now, can you go back to the spreadsheet for a quick second, Queen? Yes, sure thing. So that's the spreadsheet, just so that you can kind of analyze and see everything that's on there. Now, not analyzing the market correctly is also a key mistake of a startup, which I'm going to talk about next. But let me just kind of go over the spreadsheet again. So what we have here is we have the daily rate, and then we also have the cleaning fee, which the cleaning fee is not something that you are paying for. I currently do not clean any of the properties. I have cleaners who are on staff. So we have a cleaning fee that we charge to the guest. And that's something different from like a regular hotel. Hotels just put the cleaning fee inside of what you pay to stay there. Also, if you're doing room rentals, then, kind of that shows you how much profit you're going to get from one property. If you're just doing the entire property, then you go ahead and you would just put one inside of there. But this was for a room rental that we were analyzing for one of our students. So he had 3 rooms inside of that one property, and everything else is like pretty much seamless. You just plug in all the details here. The yellow is computed. So once you plug in the details here, the yellow boxes kind of just like compute themselves. I'm really not like a tech savvy person, guys. So if I'm saying anything wrong, then please bear with me. And then here, most importantly, we have those monthly holding costs. Like I was saying, you want to make sure that you analyze that. All right. So now, not analyzing your market correctly, you need to make sure that you analyze your market that you are going to be in. So if you're not analyzing the market, if you're not looking out for the key anchors inside of that market that bring people, bring travelers more specifically there, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Not kind of, you are shooting yourself in the foot with a figurative gun, because you don't know why people want to be in your neighborhood. And you also are going to put, if you're located next to Christiana Hospital, you're going to put that you are close to Christiana Hospital inside of your listing. Overspending on furniture and supplies. Now, I know you saw the picture of my first short-term rental. And if you compare that to the short-term rentals that we have now, the short-term rentals that we have now are like definitely, the staging is like much so 10 times better than what we did when we first got started. But it's either people overspend or they underspend. You may have looked at that photo and said, oh, I would have did this, I would have did that. Yeah, you probably are going to overspend. And that is a hint to what our bonus is going to be for everyone. Like I said, it's free for the bonus. So I'm going to send you our supply list so you can see all the key essentials that you need inside of the property and not buy unnecessary crap like I did. So we still, even though the furniture was like very basic, we still overspent on furniture and supplies that we didn't need. Not analyzing the neighborhood correctly, and then also not completing the property inspection like we were supposed to. So we had like some hiccups inside of the property that we just didn't notice, and that cost me a lot of money. Now, if you're purchasing pretty much the same stuff when it goes into purchasing a short-term rental property. So when you're purchasing, you're going to analyze the neighborhood. Potential income is going to be versus your mortgage payment and not your lease payment, because you own the property. So mortgage payments are typically going to be lower. So you have a bit more wiggle room to kind of finesse and play around with when it comes to how much you're going to charge on a nightly basis, which is great. And typically, if you own the property, you're definitely going to be netting more money at the end of the month. Number three, to me, is the most important. So what is the contingency plan if the short-term rental does not work out for you? I always like to have backup plans, even when leasing my properties. When leasing the properties, I kind of want to be dead on, because you don't have as much flexibility if you're leasing a property as opposed to you owning it. We have a property that is close to one of the major universities, and our contingency plan, if we don't have enough bookings, is to just go ahead and do it as a room rental. So we have some type of a backup system. So you just want to keep that in mind. I am not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, but there are way more tax write-offs. I would definitely say if you own a property as well, but I'm not going to advise you on that. So these are just some of the different platforms that you can go on for short-term rentals. Like I said, hotels have different chains. Like you have the Marriott, you have the Hilton, you have the Holiday Inn. I don't know if that's considered a hotel since it's an inn, but whatever the case may be, these are different platforms of short-term rentals that you have. So Airbnb, Booking.com, HomeAway, which was purchased, VRBO, which was purchased by HomeAway, et cetera, et cetera. So go online tonight and create a profile. At the end, I am going to put a link in there for you to sign up. If you haven't signed up for any of these platforms already, definitely use that link, because you can save some money, especially if you're traveling anytime soon. And like I said, timing is like super essential when it comes to this. It is everything. If you're looking to get started now, in terms of the timing, it's perfect, because you saw what my calendars were doing in 2017, and then you saw a recent calendar that we had from my mom's short-term rental that she literally just got started on in April. And the first day we launched that property, we got 3 bookings, not 3 inquiries, 3 bookings. Bookings are different. Bookings means that someone paid already. An inquiry just means that someone's interested. A booking means that someone paid. So the first day that we launched in April, we got 3 solid bookings from guests who were going to be traveling to our place. So this is the perfect time to get started in the springtime. So let's just grab all that information. First, secure the location in the city you would like to get started in. Do not get started in Los Angeles if you live in Tampa, Florida. It makes no sense. Get started close to your backyard, so then you can spread your wings and go to another area. Numero dos, start looking for properties today for you to lease if you don't already own and have access to a property in that area. Just get started, just look, analyze with the formula that I gave you, do some research on AirDNA, look for properties to go ahead and get started with. And if you have an extra bedroom, if you have a basement apartment, if you have access to any of that, that is even sweeter, because you can get started without taking so much of a risk, I would say. And you can test this out to see that this works. But if you do have the capital, then go ahead and make sure that you are switching over to doing short-term rentals. Not too sure what that was that popped up on the screen, but we're going to keep going. Make sure that you guys can still hear me. Okay, perfect. So number 3, analyze the numbers for that area. I showed you how we analyze numbers. That formula that I did in there, I still analyze formulas with that, because like I said, some of my students are more analytical than others. So I just want to have resources for them to do the property analyzation if they need to. But if you are, basic like I am, I just use that formula and just do a quick overview to see if the numbers work for me in that area. Now, a bonus tip right here, check the volume of hotels and other short-term rentals inside of a neighborhood before you get started. This is a bonus because this can actually kind of make or break the business. And this is something that I learned the hard way. So if you have a high volume of hotels in a neighborhood already, and you have a high volume of short-term rental properties in that neighborhood already, it's a lot of competition, a lot of competition. So if you're just getting started, you might not want to be in neighborhoods that have a already high volume of hotels and an already high volume of short-term rentals, unless you have an extra bedroom or a extra space that you can start with, and you're not putting the lease on a property. So that's just something that I learned over a period of time, is that competition is very steep. Now, the reason why my mother-in-law, who you saw, she's a super host now, shout outs to her. The reason why she's had so much success is because she almost has like a monopoly on her area. Like, she profits strictly from one of the local hospitals. She has doctors and nurses who have to stay close to the hospital or want to stay close to the hospital, and she's monopolizing directly off of that one location. So she is super successful when it comes to bookings because she always has people who want to stay near that hospital location. Number 4, lock in the property and then begin staging. Now, with the staging list that I'm going to give you with all the products and different things that you need inside of the property, you're going to see everything that is essential that you need inside of it. So you can kind of start pricing these items out before you even get started with a property. So this is something that you can literally do tonight. You can go on whatever website that you order things from. We still get some of our essentials from like Walmart. So, I mean, like, wherever you want to shop at, it's totally up to you. But for the essentials, you can definitely go on there and get started and price how much it is going to cost you to stage a property. Just a little tip. On average, we're typically spending around $2,000 for around like a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, or even a 2-bed, 1-bath, or a 2-bed, 2-bath. We'll probably like spend a little bit closer to like $2,500 to $3,000 on staging. But that is because now we are doing it as a business. So we put more money into it. When you first get started, you may not be spending that much, but that's how much we spend right now. So staging should definitely take you no more than 2 weeks. The more time you waste, the more money you waste. Time is literally money when it comes to this. So what that means is that you want to have that property up and staged as soon as possible, so you can at least take the photos that you need to take in order to list it. So I hope that makes sense. So even if the property is not ready to have anyone stay at, you can still stage the property and take the photos that you need to take in order to start getting future and potential bookings. So what's a great example is the calendar that I showed you earlier with my mom, which she was not ready to take in any guests until April 11th, but we opened up the listing on April 1st. So even though it was not available for people to book until April 11th, it was open for people to book after that. And of course, we had a lot of people who were looking for dates after April 11th, and we had the property staged, even though everything wasn't all put together. But it was, for the most part, for us to take some really quality photos with our photographer, and people were able to see the property. And then 5, you launch the property. And on Airbnb, it's the easiest platform to launch a property on. You can launch a property in like an hour on Airbnb, as opposed to some other sites. It just takes way longer. And when you go on the website, it's going to look like this now. This is the new version of the website. And you just click on become a host, and then you click on host a home, and then you would go from there. So 90 days, I promise you, if you use the formula that we use, you can start profiting in 90 days. Now, I know it can be a little scary when you're getting started, like someone said in the chat box when trying to figure it out. But these results do not lie. This is what we saw. And the reason why I used this example from 2017 is because this was the best example that I can give for a property that we got started on around this time period and used that 90-day formula, and it worked out perfectly. So if you want these results, it's definitely possible. This is one of our students that we actually just did a video. If any of you are following me, I don't know if you can follow somebody on Facebook. If you're friends with me on Facebook, then you saw our Facebook Live with one of our students. He like blew me out of the water when it came to the staging. The staging, this is his first property, and he found his property in the first 30 days. So don't psych yourself out. He found it in the first 30 days, and he was able to like blow me out of the water when it came to the staging. Like his staging was really on point, and he had some quality photos and furniture inside of there. So shout out to Gary for that. So be optimistic about the opportunity, because definitely you can do it. Like I said, he found his first property in the first 30 days. Of course, we helped him find a property. We helped him connect with local landlords in the area. We were able to assist him with the presentation that he did. So with doing all that, it only took him 30 days to find his property. And this is just a quote that I love that Will Smith says all the time from Confucius: the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Definitely know that you can do this, because I showed you the results from several different people who did this, and they're regular people. They're regular people. If you think that I'm like extra extraordinary, then you saw the results from other people who you don't know who were able to do it as well. I have another bonus for you. So we are almost there, and then you don't get your supply list unless you stay until the end. So make sure you stay until the end. So quick question in terms of why you showed up. I want you to think about that right now. And for me, I know for short-term rentals, I needed to get consistent cash flow. So the other question that popped up, which always pops up, is how do you actually get started? And don't be like me. Don't find out about this in 2014 and get started like 2 years later. It's not wise. And also, don't be like me and lose a whole bunch of money in the beginning like I did by not getting the proper property inspections and doing all those things. There is a simple way definitely for you to go. We have a live online training that is going to take place May 3rd through the 4th. It's online, but it's going to be live. So I'm interacting with you all, and I'm giving you all the juice and the details in terms of how I actually did it. I am going to be doing this live online training. It's a boot camp, and it shows you how to confidently start investing in your own short-term rentals by showing you exactly how we started, how we manage short-term rentals, and how we do everything possible. And I'm going to also show you another reason why this works, because we're doing it right now. So live online bootcamp, how to profit in 90 days from your first short-term rental. This is the link above, but we're also going to put it inside of the chat box very soon. So you can just click on that and you'll be able to actually go ahead and sign up there right now. Now, what we're going to go over, definitely how to find properties and how to speak with landlords. So you saw the photo of Gary. He got his property started in roughly about 30 days from us going ahead and starting to work with him. Well, actually, he found his property in 30 days. Speaking with landlords can be I would say, a tricky thing if you don't know how to necessarily do it. So that's the question that a lot of our students have. So we help them coast through that. Dynamic pricing strategy. So I showed you from the beginning of June, we were around 1,100, and that's because our prices were way lower than they were once we got our reviews and we went on into August. So we use a pricing strategy. We use different systems that show us, okay, what's going on inside the area? Is there some type of conference? Is there some type of book fair, comical, what do you call the people who dress up in cartoon characters and like anime and stuff like that? All those different Comic-Con. Thank you guys. So you have all those different events that are going on in your area, and you might not necessarily know about them. And that's how, if you ever wondered, how in the heck do hotels know when certain events are going on in the area? we use the same software and we figure it out. Staging and photography, I'm going to tell you, when we started changing up our photography, our results were literally tenfold as opposed to me taking photos on my iPhone. The deal analyzation, so the spreadsheet that you saw, that is something that we now are going to be able to offer to you all. Thank goodness. So you're going to be able to analyze the deal for all of you who are a little bit more analytical and you don't necessarily just want to stick with the formula. The formula works perfect for me. But if you want to make sure that you are spot on, you can use that spreadsheet in order to analyze your deals. Next thing is the Facebook support. So now with the Facebook support, that's something new that we are offering, and definitely I believe it's awesome as well. I see someone typed inside the chat box, awesome. The Facebook support is going to allow for you to connect with other individuals who are inside of our campus, inside of our university, and they are actively doing short-term rentals right now, so you can have that support. I just noticed that students do way better when they're grouped up with other students and they kind of help each other. There are a lot of Airbnb groups on Facebook, and I can tell you right now, some of them are very negative Nancy. We're not about that. We're about what's the problem, what's the solution, let's get it rocking and rolling. How do you get this residual income like today? And then one-on-one follow-ups to fill in the gaps that you have. So that was a big thing for me. That's why it took us a little bit of time in order for us to go ahead and put steam into the engine, because we didn't necessarily have the one-on-one support. So I'm definitely here for you. I love when my students contact me. Some people don't take advantage, other people do. But the one-on-one follow-up support, I'm definitely here via email, text message, phone call, whatever the case may be, to help you in whatever area that you need. And then lastly, listing automation, how I'm able to still travel and not be anywhere near my short-term rental properties. Like, how in the heck was I in Mexico and I still had people staying in my place? Now, this is a post that I actually put on Facebook. So for those of you who don't know, I actually am 36 weeks pregnant right now. So I made a joke on Facebook and everybody was like, why are you still working while you're pregnant? Like, people, thank you, Jessica. I see your comment. Like, my uncle was like, you need to like take a break and not be working right now. And then I got a couple of other angry messages inside of my messenger saying, you know, sit it down. You're 36 weeks. You're supposed to enjoy this. And I'm like, guys, I'm not really working. I make my fiance do everything. No, I'm joking. I'm not really working right now. Like right now, I have my cleaners who clean the property. I have my contractors who go and fix things if there's anything wrong at the property. I have everything automated, so I really don't do anything. I just do laundry right now. And I like feeling useful, so I do laundry. And then the only other thing that I have to do is actually set any new property up, which is probably what you would see me doing. And that's the only thing. So this number is definitely realistic. This is not like an unobtainable number. So please don't feel like that. So we're at the second bonus. And for those of you who are ready to pull the trigger tonight, you can actually get started with the program for a discount of $397. And this is the link to go ahead and get started with the discount for $397, which we are going to put inside of the presentation shortly. So tonight only, that's the only time that you can get that price for $397. And if you don't do it tonight, tomorrow morning, that link will be taken down. So go ahead and go to that link that we're about to put inside the chat box. And when you do that, you'll be able to get access to tonight's link. Now, hold on one quick second. And also, if you have any questions, make sure you contact me. I'm very accessible through cell phone. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and contact STR, which stands for short-term rental, guys. I hope you caught on to that. But you can click STR to 31996. So STR to 31996. And that's if you have any questions, anything that didn't necessarily click when I first said it, it's totally fine. Send a text message to 31996, text STR to 31996, and an automatic reply is going to come back to you with my email, and you'll have access to go ahead and email me and ask me absolutely any questions that you have. So if you have any questions now, please make sure that you go ahead and ask them inside of the chat box. If you think of any questions later, go ahead and take a picture of that, because you can text STR to 31996 and we can chat through email. I always have my phone by me, so I respond to emails very quickly. But if you have any questions now, go ahead and type it up inside of the chat box. I'm going to leave the chat box open for you all. So I'm not going to end the meeting. I'm going to leave it open so that you can go ahead and click on those different links that we have there. Like I said, this price that we have for $397 is totally only for tonight. And trust me, if you can get a check or a monthly payout of $4,300, then I know for sure, $397 is a totally feasible price for you to pay. So just think about it. $397 to get $4,300 a month. It's a no-brainer to me. So it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in with us, and we ended on time. Look at that. Now, before we exit out, I have a question inside of the chat box. Are there any benefits to leasing a property already furnished versus buying furniture yourself? What an awesome question. So now, when it comes to leasing a property that is already furnished, which we actually just did roughly about 2 weeks ago, the benefits to that is you don't have to worry about spending any additional money in terms of purchasing the furniture. A lot of people over a time period, they accumulate so many different items just over the years of just buying crap, and it's all the things that you're going to need in the short-term rental. Now, the problem sometimes can be if the person has janky looking furniture, which is just another word for saying they have furniture that is not necessarily the style that you want to go with. So that would be like a setback. If someone has a property that's leased, then a property that's already furnished, then you have to figure out, okay, what do I do with this furniture? Like maybe they don't have anywhere that they can store it. So like, where am I going to store this furniture? And then you have to worry about buying something to replace it. So that's a very good question. Our property that we just got started with roughly about 2 weeks ago, we already had that one furnished, and it's working out awesome for me, especially with me being pregnant. The setup process is close to minimal because I don't have to do anything, because the furniture is already there. I don't have to pay for a crew to move the furniture in. I don't have to pay for the TVs to be mounted. So I'm saving a lot of upfront money. Now I am paying a little bit more for the rent because it is furnished, but I think that's like the only setback. So really awesome question. Once again, we have the options for you to go ahead and get some more information and references opportunity inside of the chat box. If you have any additional questions that come up, make sure you text STR to 31996 unless you catch me before we end the presentation. You're welcome. And thank you all so much for tuning in with us. I hope this really helps you. This is something that I really, really love doing. And I mean, making residual income while we are having our first child, like, means so much to me because I'm going to be able to spend time with my child. So this opportunity is like true, real. It's happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. So that is it. Tony caught me before I got off. What's the average price range to spend on furniture on a startup? $2,000, Tony, if you want to do it properly. 2,000 if you want to do it properly. If you are not, like, if you don't have 2,000, it's totally cool. The supply list that I'm going to send you, just make sure you have all of those essentials inside of there. You may have to Craigslist it. You may have to borrow some furniture for your house to get started up on your first one. But if you're buying all new furniture, like all new everything, then 2,000 on like a one bedroom, one bathroom. And I'm not a CPA or an accountant. However, I do know that you can use most of the items that you purchase as a tax write-off, but definitely go ahead and run that past your CPA or your accountant, just to be sure. But that is totally around the price that we are paying. So I see inside the chat box, it was so great, informative, and you made this seem doable. Thank you so much, Jessica. And once again, like I said, text STR to 31996 if you have any additional questions. And I am signing off, guys. Thank you so much once again for tuning in with us. I hope you're able to go ahead and get started on your first short-term rental within the next 90 days, which I know you can definitely do. Like I said, this is the time period for you to get started. Make sure you text STR to 31996, and we are gone.